In the stillness of the night, beneath a sky painted with countless stars, a young astronomer named Elara gazes upward, her heart racing with a mix of wonder and unease. She's spent years studying the heavens, but tonight, something feels different. There, in the far reaches of the cosmos, she spots it, an anomaly, a flicker of light where none should be. It's not just any star, it's one on the brink of being born, a rare event that most only dream of witnessing. For Elara, this isn't just a scientific discovery, it's a calling, a chance to prove herself in a world that often overlooks her. But as she prepares to embark on a journey to witness this cosmic miracle, she knows the quiet of the night hides more than just the beauty of the stars. It conceals dangers she can't yet imagine, challenges that will test her courage, her resolve, and perhaps even her fate. What she doesn't realize is that this journey won't just change her life, it will rewrite the very myths that shape her world. Elara's hands tremble as she unrolls the ancient star charts, their edges frayed and yellowed with age. These maps, passed down through generations of her family, hold secrets older than memory itself. Each line, each symbol, whispers of a time when the heavens were not just observed but revered. As she gathers her tools, a brass astrolabe, a telescope forged by her great-grandfather, and a journal filled with her own meticulous notes, she feels the weight of her ancestors' legacy pressing on her shoulders. But this isn't just about tradition. It's about proving that she belongs among the stars, that her dreams are worth chasing. Her mentor, a stern and weathered astronomer named Thalos, watches her with a mix of concern and disapproval. Elara, he says, his voice low and grave, the birth of a star is not a spectacle for mortals to witness. It's a force beyond our understanding, a boundary we were never meant to cross. His words hang in the air, heavy with warning. Thalos has always been a voice of caution, a reminder of the dangers that lurk in the cosmos. But for Elara, his warnings feel like chains, holding her back from the very thing she was born to do. The conflict within her is palpable. On one hand, there's the weight of duty, the expectations of her village, the respect for her mentor, the fear of the unknown. On the other, there's the burning pull of ambition, the unshakable belief that this moment, this star, is hers to witness. It's not just about discovery, it's about defiance, about proving that the quiet girl from a small village can reach for something greater. With a deep breath, Elara makes her choice. She packs her belongings, her hands steady now, her resolve firm. The quiet of her village, with its cobblestone streets and flickering lanterns, feels like a distant memory as she steps into the wilderness. The air is colder here, the silence deeper, but it's a silence that hums with possibility. Each step takes her further from the safety of home and closer to the unknown, to the place where the star is being born. And though she doesn't know what awaits her, she knows one thing for certain: this journey will change everything. The forest stretches endlessly before Elara, its ancient trees towering like silent sentinels. The air is thick with the scent of pine and earth, and the only sound is the crunch of leaves beneath her boots. She's been walking for hours, her mind a whirlwind of questions and doubts, when a figure emerges from the shadows. He's tall, cloaked in a dark, weathered robe, and his eyes, piercing and silver like moonlight, seem to hold the weight of countless nights under the stars. This is Kale, a traveler who steps into her path, as if conjured by the forest itself. "You seek the birthplace of the star," he says, his voice calm but laced with an edge of mystery. It's not a question. Elara freezes, her hand instinctively tightening around her satchel. How could he know? She's never seen him before, yet he speaks as if he's been waiting for her. Kale offers to guide her, claiming he knows the hidden paths through the forest and beyond. His words are persuasive, but there's something unsettling about him, a quiet intensity that makes her hesitate. Despite her wariness, Elara agrees. She has little choice. The forest is vast, and time is slipping away. The star's light grows dimmer with each passing hour, and she can't afford to wander aimlessly. As they walk together, Kale's presence becomes both a comfort and a source of unease. He moves with an otherworldly grace, his steps silent, his gaze always fixed on some distant point. When he speaks, his words are cryptic, layered with meanings she can't quite grasp. He talks of the stars as if they're old friends, of paths that shift and change, of dangers that lurk just beyond sight. Elara listens intently, her curiosity battling with her growing suspicion. Who is this man? What does he truly know? She tries to press him for answers, but Kale deflects her questions with a strange smile, as if he's amused by her attempts to unravel his secrets. The more they travel, the more she senses that he's not just a guide, he's a puzzle, one that seems to hold the key to something far greater than she understands. The forest grows darker, the canopy above thickening, until only slivers of moonlight filter through. The quiet is unnerving, broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves or the distant call of an owl. Then, faintly, she hears it, whispers carried on the wind. They're too soft to make out, but there's something about them that sends a shiver down her spine. Kale seems unbothered, his expression calm, but Elara's unease deepens. She can't shake the feeling that they're being watched, that the forest itself is alive and aware of their presence. Still, she presses on. The star's light calls to her, a beacon in the darkness, and she knows she can't turn back now. Kale's cryptic warnings and strange behavior only fuel her determination. Whatever secrets he holds, whatever dangers lie ahead, she's willing to face them. For Elara, this journey isn't just about witnessing the birth of a star. It's about uncovering the truths hidden in the shadows, the ones that might rewrite the myths she's always believed. And as the whispers grow louder, she realizes that the quiet of the forest is far from empty. It's alive with secrets, with stories waiting to be told. And she's about to step into the heart of them. The path through the forest finally opens into a clearing, and there it stands, a temple ancient and crumbling, its stone walls draped in ivy and moss. The air here feels heavy, as if the very ground remembers the footsteps of those who came before. Elara pauses, her breath catching in her throat. This is the place she's been searching for, the one whispered about in the oldest star charts. But it's not the temple's age that gives her pause. It's the silence. It's too quiet, too still, as if the world itself is holding its breath. Kale steps forward, his expression unreadable. "This is where the path ends," he says, his voice low, "and where it begins." His words hang in the air, cryptic as ever, but Elara doesn't have time to dwell on them. The temple's entrance looms before her, dark and foreboding, yet somehow inviting. She can feel the pull of it, as if the star's light is reaching out to her from within. As they step inside, the air grows colder, the silence deepening into something almost tangible. The walls are lined with carvings, constellations etched into stone, their patterns familiar yet strange. Elara's fingers brush against them as she walks, tracing the lines of stars she's known her whole life. But here, they're different, twisted, rearranged. It's as if the temple is challenging her understanding of the heavens, forcing her to see them in a new light. The first trial comes without warning. A door slams shut behind them, sealing them in, and the room fills with a soft, glowing light. Before them, a pedestal rises from the floor, and on it rests a single, ancient tablet. The words etched into its surface are in a language Elara doesn't recognize, but the symbols are unmistakable constellations, aligned in a way that forms a riddle. She steps closer, her mind racing. This is no ordinary puzzle. It's a test of her knowledge, her intuition, her very connection to the stars. Kale watches her silently, his arms crossed, his expression unreadable. For the first time, Elara feels the weight of his gaze, the unspoken challenge in it. She takes a deep breath and begins to work, her fingers tracing the constellations as she murmurs their names under her breath. The answer comes to her slowly, like a star emerging from the darkness. She realigns the symbols, her hands steady despite the pounding of her heart, and the room shudders as the door ahead creaks open. The second trial is different, a chamber filled with mirrors that reflect not her image, but fragments of her past. Scenes from her childhood flash before her eyes, her mother teaching her the names of the stars, her father's laughter as they stargaze together, the night she first felt the pull of the heavens. But there's pain here, too. The loss of her parents, the loneliness of her village, the doubts that have haunted her every step. It's a test of courage, forcing her to confront the shadows she's carried for so long. Kale doesn't speak, but his presence is a steadying force. When the mirrors shift to reflect him, she sees a flicker of something in his eyes: sorrow, regret, perhaps even guilt. The images that appear are hazy, fleeting, but they tell a story. A man who once stood beneath the stars with hope, only to lose everything in their light. Elara doesn't ask him about it, but the glimpse into his past changes something between them. The quiet stranger she's been traveling with suddenly feels more real, more human. The final trial is the hardest. The temple's central chamber is bathed in starlight, the ceiling open to the night sky. At its center stands a massive stone door, its surface carved with a single, intricate constellation. Elara recognizes it immediately. It's the constellation of the star she's been chasing, the one on the brink of being born. But the door doesn't open, no matter how she pushes or pulls. It's only when she steps back, her eyes tracing the pattern, that she realizes the truth. The constellation is incomplete. A single star is missing, its place empty, waiting. Without hesitation, Elara reaches into her satchel and pulls out the astrolabe her great-grandfather forged. She holds it up to the sky, aligning its brass arms with the stars above. The missing piece clicks into place, and the door groans as it begins to move. The sound echoes through the chamber, shattering the quiet, and for a moment, the temple feels alive. But as the door opens, revealing the path to the star's birthplace, Elara feels a chill run down her spine. The trials may be over, but the true test is just beginning. The echoes of their choices resonate in the air, a reminder that every step they've taken has led them here, to a moment that will change everything. And as she steps forward, Elara knows that the quiet of the temple is nothing compared to the silence that awaits them beyond. As Elara and Kale step out of the temple, the cool night air wraps around them like a shroud. The tension in the atmosphere is palpable, as if the forest itself is holding its breath. They've barely taken a few steps when a figure emerges from the shadows, tall, cloaked in black, and carrying an air of menace that stops them in their tracks. It's a rival astronomer, a man Elara recognizes from the village. His name is Darion, and his reputation precedes him, brilliant but ruthless, driven by a hunger for power that eclipses any reverence for the stars. Darion's voice cuts through the silence, sharp and mocking. "Elara," he sneers, "I should have known you'd be here, chasing fairy tales, but this star isn't yours to claim. It belongs to someone who understands its true value." His words are laced with venom, his eyes gleaming with a dangerous ambition. Before Elara can respond, he lunges, his movements swift and calculated. The quiet of the night shatters as steel meets steel. Kale stepping in to block Darion's strike with a blade Elara didn't even know he carried. The battle is chaotic, a blur of motion and sound. Elara scrambles to find her footing, her mind racing. She's no fighter, but she's quick, her instincts sharpened by years of navigating the unknown. Kale moves with a precision that surprises her, his strikes deliberate and fluid, as if he's danced this deadly dance before. Together, they fend off Darion's relentless attacks, but it's clear he's not alone. Shadows shift around them, revealing more figures, hired mercenaries, their faces grim and their weapons drawn. Elara's heart pounds as she dodges a swinging blade, her thoughts a whirlwind of fear and determination. She grabs a loose stone from the ground, hurling it at one of the attackers with surprising accuracy. The man stumbles, giving her a moment to breathe, but there's no time to rest. Kale's voice cuts through the chaos, firm and commanding. "Stay close," he says, his tone leaving no room for argument. She obeys, her trust in him growing despite the mystery that surrounds him. The fight rages on, the forest ringing with the clash of steel and the cries of combat. Elara's hands ache from gripping her satchel, her mind racing for a way to turn the tide. Then, an idea sparks, a flash of brilliance born of desperation. She remembers the temple, the carvings on its walls, the way the constellations seem to shift and change. If she can recreate that pattern here, she might be able to disorient their attackers. With Kale covering her, Elara quickly gathers loose stones and branches, arranging them in a rough approximation of the temple's star map. The mercenaries hesitate, confused by her strange actions, and that's all the opening Kale needs. He moves like a shadow, disarming two of them in quick succession. Darion snarls in frustration, his eyes blazing with fury, but the tide has turned. The remaining attackers falter, their confidence shaken, and Darion knows he's lost the upper hand. With a final venomous glare, Darion retreats into the shadows, his men following close behind. The forest falls silent once more, the echoes of the battle fading into the night. Elara collapses to her knees, her breath coming in ragged gasps, her body trembling with adrenaline. She's shaken, yes, but something inside her has shifted. The fear is still there, but it's tempered by a newfound resolve. She's faced danger and survived, and that knowledge burns like a fire in her chest. Kale stands beside her, his expression unreadable, but his presence steady. "You did well," he says quietly, his voice carrying a hint of respect. Elara looks up at him, her eyes searching his face for answers she knows he won't give not yet. But in that moment, she realizes something. This journey isn't just about the star anymore. It's about the choices she makes, the strength she finds within herself, and the truth she's willing to fight for. The quiet of the night returns, but it's a different kind of silence now, one filled with possibility, with the promise of what lies ahead. Elara rises to her feet, her determination solidifying like the stars above. The birth of the star is close. She can feel it in the air, in the way the light seems to pulse just beyond the horizon. And as she and Kale press onward, the forest seems to part before them, as if the cosmos itself is guiding their path. The trials are far from over, but Elara knows one thing for certain. She's ready to face them, no matter what comes next. The sky, once a serene tapestry of familiar constellations, begins to warp in ways Elara has never seen before. It starts subtly, a faint ripple in the deep blue, like a stone dropped into a still pond. Then the colors shift, bleeding into hues of violet and gold, as if the heavens themselves are unraveling. Stars flicker erratically, their light dimming and flaring in unnatural patterns. Elara stops in her tracks, her breath catching as she gazes upward. This isn't the sky she's spent her life memorizing. This is something else entirely, a cosmic dance on the edge of chaos. Kale stands beside her, his expression grim. "The star's birth is tearing at the fabric of the heavens," he says, his voice low but urgent. "It's not just a miracle of creation. It's a force that could unravel everything." His words hang heavily in the air, a stark reminder of the stakes. But Elara's resolve doesn't waver. She's come too far, sacrificed too much, to turn back now. The star's light calls to her, a siren song she can't ignore, even as the world around her seems to tremble under its power. Yet as the days pass, the changes grow more pronounced. The air feels charged, electric, as if the sky itself is alive with tension. Elara's dreams are filled with visions of collapsing stars and fractured skies, and she wakes each morning with a sense of unease that lingers like a shadow. Her obsession deepens, her thoughts consumed by the star and the mysteries it holds. But with each step closer, she feels the weight of her choices pressing down on her. Is this journey worth the cost? The question gnaws at her, a quiet voice of doubt that grows louder with every flicker of the unstable heavens. Kale watches her closely, his silver eyes reflecting the turmoil above. He doesn't press her, but his silence speaks volumes. He's seen this before, the pull of ambition, the blindness it can bring. And though he doesn't say it, Elara can sense his fear. Not for himself, but for her, for what she might become if she loses herself to this quest. The tension between them thickens, the quiet of their journey now filled with unspoken words and unanswered questions. Despite the growing unease, Elara presses on, The star's light grows brighter, its pull stronger, but so does the chaos in the sky. She begins to notice strange phenomena, animals fleeing in panic, plants wilting as if drained of life. Even the ground beneath her feet feels unstable, as though the earth itself is resisting the star's birth. It's as if the world is trying to warn her, to push her back from the edge of something she can't fully comprehend. One night, as they make camp beneath a sky that pulses with unnatural light, Kale finally breaks the silence. "You must decide," he says, his voice steady but laced with an edge of desperation. "Is this star worth the cost, not just to you, but to everything?" Elara looks at him, her heart pounding. She wants to argue, to insist that her quest is noble, that the birth of a star is a moment worth any sacrifice. But the words catch in her throat. For the first time, she allows herself to truly consider the question. What is she willing to lose? What is she willing to risk? And most importantly, what is she willing to become? The quiet of the night offers no answers, only the flickering light of a star that seems to grow more unstable with each passing moment. Elara's determination wavers, but only for a moment. She knows the path ahead is fraught with danger, that the cost of her ambition may be higher than she ever imagined. But she also knows that turning back now would mean leaving behind the very thing that has defined her, her connection to the stars, her purpose. And so, with a deep breath, she makes her choice. The journey continues, the tension thick in the air, but Elara steps forward, her eyes fixed on the light that calls to her, no matter the cost. The horizon stretches endlessly before them, a sea of golden dunes shimmering under a sky that seems to pulse with life. The desert is vast, silent, and eerily beautiful, but there's an undercurrent of energy here, a hum that vibrates through the air and settles in Elara's bones. It's as if the land itself is alive, waiting, holding its breath for the moment the star is born. The ground trembles faintly beneath her feet, a reminder that this place is anything but ordinary. This is where the cosmos will reveal its greatest secret, and Elara can feel its pull more strongly than ever. As they press deeper into the desert, the air grows thicker, charged with an almost electric intensity. Elara's steps falter as the first vision hits her, a flash of light so bright it blinds her, even though her eyes are open. She sees a swirling mass of gas and fire, a nebula collapsing in on itself, giving birth to something new, something radiant. The image is fleeting but vivid, leaving her breathless. Kale notices her stumble and turns, his brow furrowed with concern. "What did you see?" he asks, his voice low but urgent. Before she can answer, another vision overtakes her. This time, it's more chaotic, a star exploding into existence, its light tearing through the fabric of reality. The force of it is overwhelming, and Elara feels as though she's being pulled apart, her very essence unraveling under the weight of the vision. She gasps, clutching her chest, and Kale is at her side in an instant. "Elara," he says, his tone firm, but edged with worry. "This isn't just a star being born. It's a force that could destroy you if you get too close. We need to leave." But Elara shakes her head, her resolve hardening even as her body trembles. "I can't," she says, her voice steady despite the fear coursing through her. "This is what I've been searching for. This is what I'm meant to see." Her words are quiet but unyielding, and Kale knows there's no dissuading her. Still, he tries one last time, his voice softening. "You don't understand the cost," he says. "Some things are better left unseen. The visions don't stop. Each one is more vivid, more unsettling than the last." Elara sees the star's light bending time and space, creating ripples that echo across the universe. She feels the raw power of its birth, a force so immense it threatens to consume her. And yet, amidst the chaos, there's a strange beauty to it, a reminder that creation and destruction are two sides of the same coin. The desert around her seems to mirror this duality, its silence growing heavier, more oppressive, until it feels almost deafening. Kale watches her closely, his silver eyes reflecting the turmoil within her. He's seen this before, the way the star's light can twist reality, bending minds and breaking wills. But Elara is different. Her determination burns brighter than her fear, and though it worries him, it also fills him with a reluctant admiration. She's willing to face the unknown, even if it means risking everything. And as much as he wants to protect her, he knows he can't deny her this. The ground trembles again, more violently this time, and the air hums louder, a sound that seems to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Elara takes a deep breath, steadying herself as she looks toward the horizon. The star's light is close now, its glow visible even in the daylight, a beacon calling her forward. She knows the journey ahead will test her in ways she can't yet imagine, but she also knows there's no turning back. The desert's quiet is no longer just silence, it's a presence, a force that watches and waits, as if it too is holding its breath for what comes next. Kale falls into step beside her, his expression unreadable, but his presence steady. Together, they move toward the light, the weight of their choices pressing down on them with every step. The desert stretches on, vast and unyielding, but Elara's eyes remain fixed on the horizon. The birth of the star is near, and with it, the answers she's been searching for. But as the ground trembles and the air hums with energy, she can't shake the feeling that the real challenge is just beginning. The sun hangs low in the sky, casting long shadows across the dunes as Elara trudges forward, her boots sinking into the soft sand with each step. The air is heavy, almost suffocating, but she presses on, driven by the faint glow on the horizon. It's then that something catches her eye, a glint of metal half buried in the sand, its surface weathered but still gleaming faintly in the fading light. She crouches down, brushing away the grains to reveal an artifact unlike anything she's ever seen. It's a small, circular object, its edges etched with intricate patterns that seem to shift and flow like the constellations themselves. The moment her fingers touch its surface, the world around her dissolves. A rush of sensations floods her mind, light, heat, and a deafening roar that isn't sound but something deeper, more primal. She's no longer in the desert. She's adrift in a vast, swirling sea of gas and fire, the birthplace of a star. The memories aren't hers, but they feel as real as her own. She feels the immense pressure building, the gravitational forces pulling everything inward, collapsing into a single, radiant point of light. It's beautiful, terrifying, and utterly overwhelming. And then, just as suddenly as it began, the vision fades, leaving her gasping for air on her knees in the sand. Kale is at her side in an instant, his hand on her shoulder, his voice a steady anchor. "What did you see?" he asks, his tone calm but insistent. Elara struggles to find the words, her mind still reeling from the intensity of the experience. It was the star, she finally manages, her voice trembling. I felt at its birth, its power, but there's more. It's not just light and life, it's destruction too. The star's birth will come at a cost, something I can't even begin to understand. The artifact lies in the sand between them, its surface now dull and lifeless. Kale picks it up, turning it over in his hands, his expression unreadable. This is a relic, he says quietly, a piece of the past, left behind by those who came before us. They tried to warn us, to prepare us for what's coming, but even they couldn't stop it. His words hang in the air, heavy with meaning, and Elara feels a shiver run down her spine. The quiet of the desert, once a comforting blanket, now feels oppressive, as if the land itself is holding its breath, waiting for what comes next. Elara's mind races, torn between the awe of what she's witnessed and the dread of what it might mean. The artifact's memories have shown her the beauty of creation, but also its price. The star's birth isn't just a miracle, it's a cataclysm, a force that will reshape the world in ways she can't predict. And yet, despite the fear gnawing at her, she can't bring herself to turn back. The star's light still calls to her, a siren song she can't ignore. She looks at Kale, her resolve hardening. I have to see this through, she says, her voice steady now, no matter the cost. Kale studies her for a long moment, his silver eyes reflecting the weight of her words. He doesn't argue, doesn't try to dissuade her. Instead, he nods, a quiet acceptance passing between them. Then we go forward, he says simply, but know this, what lies ahead will test you in ways you can't imagine. The star's light doesn't just reveal, it consumes. Are you prepared for that? Elara doesn't answer immediately. Her thoughts churn with doubt and determination, the quiet of the desert amplifying the storm within her. She knows the journey ahead will demand more than she's ever given, that the cost of her ambition might be higher than she ever dreamed. But as she looks toward the horizon, where the star's light pulses like a heartbeat, she feels a strange sense of peace. The artifact's memories have changed her, deepened her understanding of what she's chasing. It's no longer just about discovery or defiance. It's about something greater, something she can't yet name. The desert stretches endlessly before them, its silence now filled with unspoken questions and unyielding purpose. Elara takes a deep breath, her hand tightening around the artifact as she steps forward. The quiet may be broken, but the journey is far from over, and as the first stars begin to appear in the darkening sky, she knows one thing for certain. The answers she seeks are closer than ever, waiting just beyond the horizon. The desert stretches on, an endless expanse of golden dunes under a sky that feels too close, too alive. Elara walks in silence, her thoughts churning like the shifting sands beneath her feet. Kale's presence beside her is steady, but there's a tension now, a quiet unease that neither of them can ignore. It's been growing since the artifact's visions, since the moment she felt the raw power of the star's birth. She knows something has shifted between them, but she can't quite put it into words, not until Kale stops abruptly, his silver eyes fixed on the horizon. Elara, he says, his voice low and heavy with something she can't quite place. There's something you need to know. His tone is different now, stripped of its usual calm, and it sends a pang of unease through her. She turns to face him, her heart pounding as she waits for his next words. "I wasn't sent here to guide you," he continues, his gaze steady but filled with regret. "I was sent to stop you." The words hang in the air, sharp and final. Elara feels them like a blow, her breath catching in her throat. "What are you talking about?" she asks, her voice barely above a whisper. Kale hesitates, his jaw tightening as if the truth is a weight he's carried for too long. "The star's birth isn't just a miracle," he says. "It's a catalyst, a force that could tear the fabric of reality apart. I've seen it before, the chaos it brings, the lives it destroys. My purpose was to ensure it never happened again." Elara stares at him, her mind reeling. The pieces begin to click into place. His cryptic warnings, his reluctance to share his past, the way he always seemed to know more than he let on. He wasn't just a traveler or a guide. He was a guardian, tasked with preventing the very thing she's been chasing. The realization hits her like a storm, leaving her shaken and unsure. "You lied to me," she says, her voice trembling with a mix of anger and hurt. "All this time, you knew what this star could do, and you didn't tell me." Kale's expression softens, but there's no apology in his eyes, only resignation. "I didn't lie," he says quietly. "I tried to show you the cost, to make you see the danger. But you wouldn't turn back." And now, he trails off, his gaze drifting to the horizon where the star's light pulses faintly. "Now, I can't follow you any further." The words land like a stone in her chest, heavy and final. Elara feels the weight of them pressing down on her, the quiet of the desert, amplifying the silence between them. She wants to argue, to demand answers, but the look in his eyes stops her. There's no anger there, no judgment, just a quiet sorrow that speaks of choices made and paths that can't be undone. "You're leaving?" she asks, her voice small, almost lost in the vastness of the desert. Kale nods, his expression unreadable but his posture firm. "I've done what I can," he says. "The rest is up to you." He turns to go, but pauses, his back to her as he speaks one last time. "Remember, Elara, not all light is meant to be seen. Some stars burn too brightly to survive." And with that, he walks away, his figure growing smaller against the endless dunes, until he's nothing but a shadow on the horizon. Elara stands there, the weight of his words sinking in as the quiet of the desert surrounds her. The star's light still calls to her, a beacon in the distance, but now it feels different, less like a promise and more like a warning. She's torn between the desire to witness something no one else has seen and the growing fear of what it might cost. Kale's departure leaves a void, a silence that feels heavier than the sand beneath her feet. For the first time, she feels truly alone, the enormity of her choices pressing down on her like the endless sky above. The desert stretches on, its silence now filled with the echoes of their parting. Elara takes a shaky breath, her eyes fixed on the horizon where the star's light flickers like a heartbeat. She knows the path ahead is uncertain, that the answers she seeks might come at a price she's not ready to pay. But as the first stars begin to appear in the darkening sky, she feels a flicker of resolve. The quiet may be heavy, but it's also alive with possibility. And though Kale is gone, his words linger, a reminder that some choices can't be undone, and some lights can't be unseen. The desert stretches endlessly before Elara, the horizon shimmering like a mirage as the star's light pulses brighter with each step. The air feels charged, alive with an energy that prickles her skin and sends shivers down her spine. She walks alone now, the silence of the desert pressing in around her, heavier than ever without Kale's steady presence. Her resolve is unshaken, but the doubt he planted lingers, whispering in the back of her mind like a shadow she can't quite shake. What if he was right? What if the cost of this star's birth is too high? The questions gnaw at her, but she pushes them aside. She's come too far to turn back now. The ground beneath her feet begins to shift, the sand trembling as if the earth itself is alive. She pauses, her breath catching as fissures snake across the surface, glowing faintly with an otherworldly light. The air grows hotter, thicker, until it feels like she's walking through fire. The star's energy is everywhere now, a force so immense it seems to warp the very fabric of reality. She can feel it, the raw, untamed power of creation, pulsing like a heartbeat in the distance. It's both beautiful and terrifying, a reminder of what she's chasing and what she stands to lose. As she reaches the heart of the desert, the ground begins to split open, revealing a chasm that seems to stretch into infinity. The star's light spills from the cracks, bathing the landscape in a radiant glow that makes the air hum with energy. Elara stands at the edge, her heart pounding as she gazes into the abyss. This is it, the birthplace of the star, the moment she's been chasing her entire life. But as the ground trembles and the air crackles with power, she realizes the choice before her is no longer about discovery. It's about survival. The quiet of the desert is shattered by a deafening roar as the earth splits further, the ground heaving like a living thing. The star's energy surges, a wave of light and heat that threatens to consume everything in its path. Elara stumbles back, her mind racing. She thought this would be a moment of awe, of witnessing something miraculous. But now, standing at the edge of creation, she sees the truth. This star's birth isn't just a gift from the heavens. It's a force of destruction, a catalyst that could tear the world apart. Her hands tremble as she clutches the artifact, its surface warm against her skin. The visions it showed her come rushing back. The collapse of the nebula, the explosion of light, the chaos that followed. She thought she understood the cost, but now, faced with the reality of it, she feels the weight of her choices pressing down on her. Witnessing the star's birth could change everything, but so could stopping it. The choice is hers, and the consequences will ripple far beyond the desert. The ground beneath her feet groans, the cracks widening as the star's energy surges again. The air is thick with tension, the kind that comes before a storm, and Elara knows she's running out of time. She takes a deep breath, her mind racing through the possibilities. To witness the birth of a star is to see the beginning of something new, a light that could guide the world forward. But to stop it, to prevent the chaos it might bring, is to protect what already exists. The weight of the decision is overwhelming, but as the desert trembles and the light grows brighter, she knows there's no turning back. The quiet is gone, replaced by the roar of the earth and the hum of the star's energy. And in that moment, Elara realizes the true cost of ambition, not just what it demands, but what it leaves behind. Elara stares into the chasm, the star's light blazing like a second sun. Her legs feel rooted to the ground, the sheer force of its energy pressing against her like a tidal wave. The artifact in her hand grows warmer, its surface pulsing in rhythm with the star's heartbeat. She knows what she has to do, not just for herself, but for the world teetering on the edge of chaos. Gripping the artifact tightly, she steps forward, her breath shallow, but her resolve unshakable. The moment her fingers tighten around the artifact, the energy shifts. It's as if the star senses her intent, its light flaring brighter, hotter, as if to push her back. But Elara stands firm, her mind racing as she recalls the visions the artifact showed her, the patterns, the constellations, the way the star's power flows and twists. She closes her eyes, focusing on the artifact's warmth, and begins to channel its energy, her movements deliberate but unsteady. The air around her crackles, the ground beneath her feet trembling as if the earth itself is resisting her. At first, it feels like trying to hold back a storm with her bare hands. The star's energy is wild, untamed, a force that doesn't want to be controlled. Pain surges through her body, sharp and unrelenting, as the artifact begins to glow brighter, its light intertwining with the stars. She grits her teeth, her vision blurring as the energy threatens to overwhelm her. But she doesn't let go. She can't. The weight of her choice hangs heavy in the air, and she knows there's no room for failure. Slowly, painfully, she begins to weave the star's energy into a pattern, using the artifact as a conduit. The constellations etched into its surface guide her, their ancient wisdom flowing through her like a river. The star's light dims slightly, its chaotic energy bending to her will, but the effort is excruciating. Her muscles scream in protest, her mind clouded with exhaustion, but she pushes on, her determination burning brighter than the star itself. And then, just as her strength begins to falter, something shifts. The star's energy stabilizes, its light softening as if tamed. Elara gasps, her body trembling as she collapses to her knees, the artifact slipping from her grasp. The ground around her is scorched, the air thick with the scent of ozone, but the chasm no longer pulses with unchecked power. For now, the star's birth is delayed, its energy restrained. But it's not over. She can feel it in the air, in the way the ground still trembles faintly beneath her. This is only a reprieve, a fragile balance that could shatter at any moment. Her body aches, her vision swimming with flashes of light and shadow. As she lies there, exhausted and battered, her mind drifts into a haze of visions. She sees the star's birth as it could have been a glorious explosion of light and life, a beacon for the ages. But she also sees the chaos it would have unleashed, the destruction rippling across the world like a storm. The duality of it all is overwhelming, a reminder that every choice comes with consequences, every miracle with a price. The quiet of the desert is gone, replaced by a low, steady hum, the sound of restrained power, of a star held in check, but not defeated. Elara's breath comes in ragged gasps, her body too weak to move, but her mind is alive with questions. Was this the right choice? Can she hold the star's energy at bay forever? And if not, what will happen when it finally breaks free? The horizon glows faintly, a reminder of the star's presence, its light a constant hum in the back of her mind. Elara closes her eyes, the weight of her exhaustion pulling her under. But even as she slips into unconsciousness, she knows one thing for certain: the journey isn't over. The star's light still calls to her, a force she can't ignore, and when the time comes, she'll have to face it again, not as a seeker of miracles, but as a guardian of balance. The quiet may have returned, but it's a fragile thing, a stillness that hides the storm beneath, and Elara knows deep down that the real test is yet to come. The first thing Elara notices is the crunch of boots against the scorched sand, a sound that cuts through the low hum of the star's restrained energy. She stirs weakly, her body heavy and unresponsive, but the faint shadow falling over her is unmistakable. Kale kneels beside her, his silver eyes reflecting the faint glow of the horizon. His expression is unreadable, but there's a softness in his gaze that wasn't there before. "I thought I told you to leave," she murmurs, her voice hoarse but laced with a hint of relief. Kale doesn't respond immediately. Instead, he carefully helps her sit up, his hands steady as he checks her for injuries. His touch is deliberate, almost reverent, as if he's seeing her, really seeing her, for the first time. "You're stubborn," he says at last, his voice low but tinged with something that might be admiration. "But you've done what I thought was impossible. You've given me hope." Elara blinks, her mind still foggy from exhaustion. "Hope," she echoes, the word feeling unfamiliar on her tongue. Kale nods, his gaze drifting to the horizon where the star's light flickers faintly. "I've spent lifetimes trying to prevent this," he admits, his tone heavy with the weight of centuries. "But I never stopped to consider that maybe there's another way. Maybe the star's birth doesn't have to mean destruction. Maybe it can be balanced." The word hangs in the air between them, heavy with possibility. Elara's tired mind latches onto it, her thoughts racing. Balance. It's what she's been searching for all along, isn't it? Not just to witness the star's birth, but to understand its place in the universe, to ensure that its light doesn't come at the cost of everything else. She looks at Kale, her eyes narrowing slightly. "You're saying there's a way to control it, to let it be born without tearing the world apart?" Kale hesitates, his jaw tightening as if the words are difficult to say. "I don't know," he admits, "but if anyone can find a way, it's you. You've already done the impossible. Maybe together we can do the unthinkable." His voice is quiet but resolute, and for the first time, Elara sees something in him she hasn't before: vulnerability. He's not just here to guide her or stop her, he's here to stand beside her. The quiet of the desert seems to shift around them, the air thick with unspoken understanding. Elara takes a deep breath, her body still aching but her spirit renewed. "All right," she says, her voice steady despite the fatigue. "Where do we start?" Kale's lips curve into the faintest hint of a smile, a rare expression that softens the lines of his face. "We start with the artifact," he says, gesturing to the small, circular object lying in the sand beside her. It's more than just a relic. It's a key, a guide to the patterns of the stars. If we can decipher its secrets, we might be able to shape the star's energy, to channel it in a way that doesn't destroy. Elara picks up the artifact, its surface warm against her palm. The constellations etched into it seem to shimmer faintly, as if responding to her touch. She feels a flicker of something, not just determination, but connection. This isn't just her fight anymore, it's theirs. Together they rise, the desert stretching endlessly before them. its silence now filled with the quiet hum of possibility. As they begin their journey anew, the star's light pulses faintly in the distance, a reminder of the challenge ahead. But Elara feels something she hasn't in a long time: hope. Not just for herself, but for the world, for the delicate balance they're trying to protect. The quiet of the desert is no longer oppressive, it's alive with the promise of what's to come. And as she walks beside Kale, her steps steady and her resolve unshaken, she knows that this is just the beginning. The star's light may be a force of chaos, but it's also a force of creation. And together, they'll find a way to let it shine. The desert night stretches out around them, the stars above twinkling like distant witnesses to their journey. Elara sits cross-legged by the fire, the artifact resting in her lap, its surface catching the flickering light. Kale kneels beside her, his hands moving carefully as he sketches symbols into the sand, patterns that mirror the constellations etched into the artifact. There's a quiet intensity to his movements, a focus that Elara can't help but admire. These symbols, he says, his voice low but steady, they're part of an ancient ritual. One that could guide the star's energy, shape its birth into something controlled. Elara leans closer, her eyes tracing the intricate lines in the sand. The idea is both thrilling and daunting, a ritual to balance the star's power, to give it form without letting it consume everything in its path. But as she studies the symbols, a question nags at her. If this ritual exists, why hasn't it been used before? Why didn't anyone stop the chaos you've seen? Kale pauses, his hand hovering over the sand. Because it's not just about the symbols, he says, his tone heavy with unspoken meaning. It's about the materials, the timing, the alignment of the heavens. Everything has to be perfect, and even then, he trails off, his gaze distant, as if remembering something painful. Even then, it's a risk, but it's the only chance we've got. The weight of his words settles over them, the crackling fire, the only sound breaking the silence. Elara looks down at the artifact, her fingers brushing over its surface. "So, what do we need?" she asks, her voice steady despite the uncertainty churning in her chest. Kale's eyes meet hers, and for a moment, the quiet between them feels charged with something unspoken. "We need 3 things," he begins, counting them off on his fingers. The heart of a fallen star, a shard of celestial glass, and the breath of a dying wind. Each one is rare, each one a challenge in its own right. But if we can gather them, if we can perform the ritual under the right conditions, we might just pull this off. The task ahead feels immense, almost insurmountable, but Elara feels a spark of determination ignite within her. "Then we'd better get started," she says, her voice firm. Kale nods, a faint smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. It's a small gesture, but it's enough to remind her that she's not alone in this. Over the next few days, their camp becomes a hive of activity. Elara pores over ancient texts, her fingers stained with ink as she translates cryptic passages. Kale gathers tools and supplies, his movements methodical and precise. The quiet of the desert is filled with the rustle of parchment, the clink of metal, and the occasional murmur of conversation as they work side by side. There's a rhythm to their preparations, a harmony that grows stronger with each passing day. One evening, as the sun dips below the horizon, Elara finds herself staring at the artifact, its surface gleaming in the fading light. "Do you think we're ready?" she asks, her voice soft but carrying a weight that makes Kale pause. He looks at her, his silver eyes reflecting the firelight. "Ready or not, we don't have a choice," he says, "but I think we've got something most people don't." "And what's that?" she asks, her curiosity piqued. "Each other," he replies simply, his tone matter of fact but laced with an unspoken warmth. Elara feels a lump rise in her throat, but she doesn't argue. There's truth in his words, a truth that's been growing between them like the roots of an ancient tree. They've faced the unknown together, and whatever comes next, they'll face it the same way. The fire crackles softly, casting long shadows across the sand as they sit in companionable silence. The quiet of the desert feels different now, not oppressive, but alive with the promise of what's to come. The ritual is within reach, the materials almost gathered, and the star's light still flickers faintly on the horizon, a reminder of the challenge ahead. But for the first time, Elara feels something she hasn't in a long time, hope, and as she looks at Kale, his face illuminated by the firelight, she knows that whatever happens, they'll face it together. The air is thick with anticipation as the ritual begins, the artifact glowing faintly in Elara's hands. The symbols they've drawn in the sand shimmer with an otherworldly light, and the faint hum of the star's energy fills the air like a low, steady pulse. Kale stands beside her, his gaze fixed on the horizon, his posture tense but ready. "This is it," he murmurs, his voice barely audible over the rising wind. "Once we start, there's no turning back." Elara nods, her fingers trembling slightly as she positions the artifact at the center of the ritual circle. She takes a deep breath, the weight of the moment pressing down on her like the stars above. But just as she's about to begin, a voice cuts through the quiet, sharp and mocking. "I wouldn't do that if I were you." Her heart skips a beat as she turns to see Darion stepping out of the shadows, his cloak billowing in the wind. His eyes gleam with a dangerous ambition, and the faint smirk on his lips sends a chill down her spine. "You really thought you could keep this star for yourself?" he sneers, his voice dripping with contempt. "It belongs to someone who knows how to wield its power." Before Elara can respond, Kale moves, his blade flashing in the dim light as he positions himself between her and Darion. "Stay back," he growls, his voice firm but edged with tension. Darion laughs, a harsh, grating sound that echoes across the desert. "You think you can stop me?" he taunts, drawing his own weapon with a flick of his wrist. "This star's power is mine." The quiet of the ritual is shattered as the two men clash, their blades ringing out in the night. Elara's mind races, torn between continuing the ritual and joining the fight. But as Kale holds Darion at bay, she knows her role is clear. She turns back to the artifact, her hands steady now as she begins to channel its energy. The symbols in the sand glow brighter, the hum of the star's power growing louder, but she can feel the strain of the ritual pulling at her, demanding her full focus. Darion's voice cuts through the chaos again, his tone laced with venom. "You're wasting your time, Elara," he shouts, his words sharp and biting. "You'll never control the star's power." "It's too much for you," But Elara doesn't falter. She clings to the knowledge she's gained, the patterns of the stars etched into her mind. With each movement, each carefully placed symbol, she feels the ritual's energy building, weaving together like the constellations above. Kale's movements are swift and precise, his blade a blur as he keeps Darion from reaching her. But the rival astronomer is relentless, his strikes growing more aggressive with each passing moment. "You're out of your depth, Kale," Darion snarls, his voice rising over the clash of steel. "You can't protect her forever." Elara's focus sharpens as she feels the ritual nearing its peak. The artifact pulses in her hands, its light intertwining with the symbols in the sand. She knows she's close, but the chaos around her threatens to break her concentration. The quiet she needs is gone, replaced by the cacophony of battle. Yet, amidst the noise, she finds a strange clarity. The stars above seem to guide her, their patterns aligning in her mind as she completes the final steps of the ritual. Darion lunges toward her, his blade glinting in the starlight, but Kale intercepts him, their weapons locking with a deafening clash. "Elara, now," Kale shouts, his voice strained but urgent. She doesn't hesitate. With a final, decisive motion, she channels the artifact's energy into the ritual circle. The ground beneath her erupts in a burst of light, the star's power surging through her like a tidal wave. For a moment, everything is still, the chaos of battle drowned out by the blinding light. Then, with a deafening roar, the energy explodes outward, sending a shock wave rippling across the desert. Darion is thrown back, his weapon clattering to the ground as he crashes into the sand. Kale shields his eyes, his stance steady despite the force of the blast. And Elara stands at the center of it all, her body trembling with the aftershocks of the ritual. The quiet returns, but it's a fragile thing, a stillness that feels earned rather than natural. Elara collapses to her knees, her breath coming in ragged gasps, but her eyes are fixed on the horizon. The star's light pulses faintly, its energy now contained, its power balanced. It's not over, not yet, but for now, the chaos has been held at bay. Kale is at her side in an instant, his hand on her shoulder, his voice steady but filled with quiet relief. "You did it," he says, his tone carrying a weight of respect and something deeper, something unspoken. Elara looks at him, her exhaustion giving way to a faint smile. "We did it," she corrects, her voice soft but firm. Darion lies motionless in the sand, his ambition silenced, at least for now. The desert stretches out around them, its quiet now filled with the hum of restrained power. The ritual has worked, but the journey is far from over. The star's light still calls to her, a reminder of the balance they've fought to protect. And as Elara looks toward the horizon, she knows that whatever comes next, they'll face it together. The quiet may be fragile, but it's theirs to hold, at least for now. As the ritual's light fades, the desert falls into a stillness, so deep it feels almost sacred. Elara and Kale stand together, their breaths shallow, their eyes fixed on the horizon. The air hums with a newfound energy, a quiet anticipation that seems to hold the world in place. Then it happens, a flicker of light, faint at first, like a spark catching in the darkness. Slowly it grows brighter and brighter, until the sky itself seems to ignite. The star begins to form, its light spilling across the heavens in waves of gold and silver. painting the desert in hues that defy description. Elara's chest tightens as she watches, her heart caught between awe and something deeper, something she can't quite name. This is what she's been chasing, the birth of a star, a moment so rare and profound that few in history have ever witnessed it. But as the light fills the sky, bathing her face in its glow, she realizes it's not just about the spectacle. It's about understanding. The star isn't just a ball of gas and fire. It's a beginning, a promise, a reminder of the delicate balance that holds the universe together. Her joy is tempered by a quiet sorrow, a pang of something bittersweet. She thinks of all it took to get here, the sacrifices, the battles, the weight of choices that will ripple far beyond this moment. The star's light is beautiful, but it's also a reminder of how fragile that beauty can be. She glances at Kale, his face illuminated by the glow, his expression unreadable, but his presence steady. They've come so far together, and yet she knows this isn't the end. It's just another step in a journey that's far greater than either of them. The quiet of the moment is profound, a stillness that feels almost alive. It's not the silence of emptiness, but the quiet of creation, of something new being born. Elara feels it in her bones, in the way the air seems to hum with the star's energy. She reaches out, her fingers brushing against Kale's arm, a silent acknowledgement of all they've shared. He doesn't pull away, and for a moment, the quiet between them speaks louder than words ever could. As the star's light continues to grow, illuminating the desert in a way that feels almost sacred, Elara's thoughts turn inward. She thinks of the myths she's grown up with, the stories of stars as guides, as guardians, as symbols of hope. Standing here, witnessing this, she understands now that those stories were never just tales. They were truths, passed down through generations, carrying the weight of the universe itself. The star's birth isn't just a moment of creation. It's a reminder of the cycles that shape the cosmos, of the light that can emerge even from the darkest places. Kale's voice breaks the silence, soft but carrying a weight that makes her turn to him. "It's not over," he says, his gaze still fixed on the horizon. The star's birth is just the beginning. Its light will shape the world, but so will the choices we make now. His words linger in the air, a reminder that the quiet of this moment is fleeting, that the work of balance is never truly done. Elara nods, her resolve hardening even as her heart aches with the weight of it all. She looks back at the star, its light now steady and radiant, and feels a flicker of hope. The journey ahead will be long, and the challenges will be many, but for now, in this quiet, she allows herself a moment of peace. The star's light is a beacon, a reminder that even in the vastness of the universe, there is beauty to be found, and a purpose to be fulfilled. And as the night stretches on, the quiet of the desert feels less like an ending and more like a beginning, a promise of what's yet to come. The heavens finally settle, their chaotic dance subdued by the star's radiant birth. Elara stands beneath its glow, the weight of the moment pressing heavily on her shoulders. The world feels both familiar and alien, as if the very fabric of reality has shifted beneath her feet. She turns to Kale, his silver eyes reflecting the star's light, and for a moment, the quiet between them feels infinite. They've shared something extraordinary, something that binds them in ways words can't express. Yet, as the star's energy stabilizes, so too does the unspoken, understanding that their paths must now diverge. Kale breaks the silence first, his voice steady, but laced with an uncharacteristic softness. "This isn't the end," he says, his gaze lingering on the horizon. "The star's light will guide you, even when I'm not there too." Elara nods, her throat tight with emotions she can't quite name. She knows he's right. This journey has changed her in ways she's only beginning to understand. But the thought of parting feels like a thread unraveling, leaving behind a quiet ache she isn't ready to face. Their farewell is brief, a quiet exchange of words and a lingering glance that speaks volumes. Kale turns and walks away, his figure blending into the desert's shadows until he's nothing more than a memory against the starlit horizon. Elara watches him go, the ache in her chest deepening, but she doesn't call out. Some goodbyes, she realizes, are meant to be silent. The journey home is a solitary one, the desert's vastness stretching before her like an open question. The quiet of the night feels different now, alive with the echoes of the star's light. Every step carries the weight of what she's seen, what she's done, and what she's lost. The village she returns to is the same, its cobblestone streets, its flickering lanterns, its familiar faces, but Elara knows she's not. The girl who left chasing myths is gone, replaced by someone who's stared into the heart of creation and lived to tell the tale. As she steps into her small home, the quiet wraps around her like an old friend. She lights a single candle, its flame flickering weakly against the star's distant glow. The artifacts she's carried, the ancient star charts, the brass astrolabe, the relic that once pulsed with the star's energy, rest on her table, silent witnesses to her journey. She runs her fingers over them, her mind drifting back to the trials, the battles, the moments of clarity and chaos. The star's birth was a miracle, yes, but it was also a reminder of the fragility of balance, the cost of ambition, and the quiet strength it takes to hold light in a world so often shrouded in shadows. The villagers notice the change in her, though they can't quite place it. They see it in the way she carries herself, in the quiet intensity of her gaze, in the stories she tells beneath the night sky. To them, she's become something of a legend, a keeper of secrets too vast for ordinary minds to grasp. But to Elara, the star's light is no longer just a marvel to be admired. It's a responsibility, a reminder that every choice she makes ripples outward, shaping the world in ways she can't always foresee. The quiet of the night deepens, the stars glow, a constant presence overhead. Elara steps outside, her eyes drawn to the heavens as they always are. The constellations seem to shimmer with new meaning, their patterns telling stories she's only beginning to decipher. She knows the journey isn't over. It never truly is. The star's light will guide her, just as Kale said, but it's up to her to decide what to do with its lessons. And as she stands there, the echoes of her journey wrapping around her like a second skin, she feels a flicker of something she hasn't felt in a long time: peace. The quiet is no longer just silence. It's a presence, a companion, a reminder of all she's endured and all that's yet to come. The star's light pulses faintly, a beacon in the vastness of the night, and Elara knows that even in the stillness, the universe is alive with possibility. Her journey may have ended, but her story is just beginning. Elara stands alone beneath the newborn star, its radiant light spilling across the desert like liquid gold. The air hums softly, a quiet vibration that seems to resonate with the very rhythm of her heartbeat. Her face tilts upward, bathed in the star's glow, and for the first time in what feels like an eternity, she allows herself to simply be. The journey that brought her here, the trials, the battles, the moments of doubt and determination, floods her mind, not as a burden, but as a tapestry of lessons woven into the fabric of her being. She thinks of Kale, his silver eyes reflecting the stars, and the quiet farewell they shared. It wasn't just a goodbye to him, it was a farewell to the person she was before this journey began. The girl who left her village chasing myths has been replaced by someone who has faced the chaos of creation and emerged transformed. The star's light, so steady and serene, feels like a mirror to her own growth, a reminder that even in the most turbulent moments, there is a quiet strength waiting to be found. The choices she made along the way weigh heavily on her mind. The sacrifices, the risks, the moments when she had to dig deeper than she ever thought possible. They weren't just steps in a journey. They were the building blocks of who she is now. Each decision, each moment of doubt overcome, shaped her into someone capable of standing here, beneath the light of a star that might have destroyed everything. She thinks of Darion, his ambition and his fall, and feels a pang of sorrow. His path was a cautionary tale, a reminder that not all light is meant to be chased, and not all ambition leads to triumph. But as the star's light bathes the desert in its quiet brilliance, Elara feels a sense of peace settle over her. The chaos of its birth has been tempered, its energy harnessed and balanced, but the journey doesn't end here. The star's light is a beginning, not just for the cosmos, but for her. It's a reminder that growth often comes at a cost, but that cost can be worth it. The sacrifices she made, the battles she fought, the quiet moments of doubt she endured, they were all part of something greater. They were part of her becoming. The night is still, the desert's vastness stretching endlessly around her, but the quiet no longer feels empty. It's alive with the promise of new beginnings, with the hum of a universe that continues to unfold in ways she can't yet fathom. The star's light is a beacon, not just for her, but for anyone who dares to look up and dream. And as she stands there, her face illuminated by its glow, she realizes that some things are worth the cost. The quiet of the night, once a space for doubt and fear, now feels like a canvas waiting to be painted with the colors of possibility. She takes a deep breath, the cool night air filling her lungs, and feels a smile tug at the corners of her lips. The journey isn't over. It never truly is. But for now, in this quiet moment beneath the newborn star, Elara allows herself to simply exist, to feel the weight of what she's accomplished and the lightness of what's yet to come. The star's light pulses softly, a quiet reminder that even in the vastness of the universe, there is a place for her, a place where myths and reality intertwine, and where the quiet of the night holds the promise of endless beginnings. Elara's footsteps echo softly against the cobblestone streets of her village, the once familiar sounds now carrying a weight of newfound purpose. The villagers pause in their daily routines, their eyes drawn to her as she walks among them. There's something different about her, they whisper the way she carries herself, the quiet confidence in her gaze, the faint glow of starlight that seems to linger around her like an aura. She's no longer just the quiet girl who dreamed of the stars. She's a storyteller, a guide, a living testament to the mysteries of the cosmos. Her first stop is the village square, where a small group of children gathers, their faces alight with curiosity. They've heard the rumors, the tales of her journey to witness the birth of a star, and they clamor for her to share the story. Elara smiles, her heart warming at their eagerness, and sits among them. As she begins to speak, her voice is steady but soft, drawing them into the tale as if weaving a tapestry of light and shadow. She tells them of the desert's silence, the temple's trials, the star's radiant birth, and the quiet strength it took to face the unknown. The children listen, their eyes wide with wonder, and for a moment, the square is alive with the magic of the heavens. Word of her storytelling spreads quickly, and soon, more villagers come to listen. Elders who once dismissed her dreams now sit in quiet reverence, their skepticism replaced by awe. Young astronomers in training, inspired by her courage, seek her out for guidance. Elara becomes a mentor, teaching them not just the science of the stars, but the reverence they demand. She shows them how to read the ancient charts, how to listen to the whispers of the night, and how to respect the balance that holds the universe together. Her lessons are not just about observation, but about understanding, about seeing the stars not as distant lights, but as living forces, each one a story waiting to be told. The world around her has changed, subtly but profoundly. The villagers, once content to let the stars remain a mystery, now look to the heavens with a sense of connection. They gather under the night sky, pointing out constellations and sharing stories of their own. The quiet of the night, once a backdrop to their lives, has become a source of reflection and wonder. Elara watches them with a quiet pride, knowing that she played a part in this transformation. The star's light, once a force of chaos, now serves as a reminder of the harmony they've worked so hard to protect. Yet, amidst the joy and fulfillment, there's a bittersweetness to her return. The journey has left its mark on her, shaping her in ways she's still coming to understand. She thinks often of Kale, his silver eyes and quiet strength, and the unspoken bond they shared. Though he's gone, his presence lingers in the lessons she imparts, in the way she teaches her students to balance ambition with humility, to seek light without losing sight of the shadows. The quiet of the night, once a space for longing, now feels like a bridge, a connection to the past, and a guide for the future. As the years pass, Elara's influence grows, her teachings spreading beyond the village to neighboring towns and distant lands. Her story becomes a legend, a beacon for those who dare to dream of the stars. But for Elara, the true reward lies not in the fame, but in the quiet moments. The spark of understanding in a young astronomer's eyes, the shared silence of a starlit night, the knowledge that she's helped shape a world where the heavens are not just observed but cherished. The quiet of the night, once a space of uncertainty, now feels like a companion, a reminder of the balance she helped restore and the light she helped guide into being. As she gazes up at the stars, their steady glow a testament to the journey she's undertaken, Elara feels a deep, abiding peace. The universe is vast, its mysteries endless, but in this quiet moment, she knows she's found her place within it. And as the night stretches on, the stars seem to whisper back, their light a promise of endless beginnings.